Welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist community of Charlotte. I'm Eve Stevens. I'm one of the ministers on staff here. And whether you have been tuning in regularly or this is your first time happening upon us, so glad that you're with us and spending part of your morning here. Welcome. I grew up attending a small Unitarian Universalist congregation in Clemson, South Carolina. The people of my home congregation, like the people of this congregation, took turns serving on the board, on various teams or committees. They shoveled mulch and pulled weeds around the congregational grounds on weekends. They took turns teaching the children and youth. They sang in the choir. They made coffee and tea for the after-service social time and took turns staying and cleaning up long after the crowd had left. When someone was sick, when a loved one died growing up, I watched how the people in my home congregation showed up for one another. They brought meals, made calls, wrote cards, and paid visits. When someone needed a ride to a Sunday morning service, they found one. And I remember thinking, even when I was little, that it was pretty neat that a group of people came together completely by choice each week, season by season, year by year, to maintain our community by participating in that simple and enduringly meaningful practice of giving and receiving care. It was, in fact, experiencing how the people of my home congregation participated in this practice of giving and receiving care in mundane and profound ways that first led me to consider ministry. I find now, 6 years after being ordained, that it's still witnessing the ways the people of this congregation show up for one another that most reminds me of why I love this work and why I can't help but invest my highest hopes in the present and future of this spiritual community. All summer long, we're lifting up the ways community supports and nourishes us as a means of better understanding what it is that makes community community. Today, we celebrate the giving and receiving of care that community makes possible. Welcome all. In a moment, we'll hear the familiar sound to many of us of this congregation singing in a time past in our sanctuary. And as we listen to our opening song, I invite you to head to our public Facebook page to give and receive welcome in the comments.
I'm Mackenzie.
I'm Lauren.
And I'm Joe. We light our chalice, symbol of our liberating faith, with the words of Unitarian Universalist ministers Wendy Bartell and Lynn Gardner. From our separate joys and struggles, we come here to find the peace of balance, to find the blessing of restlessness.
All are welcome to follow, to lead, to teach, to learn. All are welcome to join the dance, to catch our breath.
All are welcome to give generously, to receive gratefully. If we are steady and composed, if we feel completely lost, if we don't know what we are feeling. This community has a place for us. Here we matter and are loved.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, my name is Craig Corzing, and in my life, I have been a part of many communities. What I have learned the most is, the more that you put into your communities, the more that you will get out of them. It seems like a simple thought, but in the moment, it can be easy to forget. If anyone knows my family, they know that we are big Carolina Panther fans. While I grew up a sports fan with many favorite sports teams, I never felt part of those teams' communities. All that changed when we moved to Charlotte 7 years ago and decided to start rooting for the home team. While we are blessed to have tickets to attend many games, the actual game is not the best part. The best part of attending a game is the pageantry beforehand. When we are walking towards the stadium and we see all the fans smiling, dressed in their jerseys, excited for what's to come, and we look in Romare Bearden Park and see the kids throwing the footballs around, and hear the street musicians playing their music, we truly feel immersed within the Panthers community. That same mindset can be applied here at the Unitarian Universalist community of Charlotte. While I was initially hesitant about the name change, I now better understand it. We are one large community, and when we are together, I feel part of something greater than myself. Walking into this building on Sunday mornings gives me the same feeling of community immersion that walking into Panther Stadium gives me on Sunday afternoons. But this community is richer, because while at the games I can pretend that my cheering makes a difference on the outcome of the game, here at the UUCC, I know that my actions make a difference. Whether serving coffee to help facilitate conversation amongst our members, or teaching our children to help reinforce our principles, or serving on the Congregational Care Committee to be able to bring our community closer together, I know that my actions make a difference and that our community grows stronger every day. And for that, I am thankful. Thank you.
This summer, as we've been exploring the meaning and the joys of community together, I keep returning to the set of Latin root words that community derives from. There's com, C-O-M, which means together or joined, and the Latin munus, M-U-N-U-S, munus. Depending on the context, munus can mean duty or gift. Community, a word composed of duty, gift, and togetherness. An experience of sharing responsibility with one another. Community, a gathering, a joining of the gifts we each bring. What is our duty to one another simply by virtue of belonging to the same spiritual community? What gifts does community call us to share with others? A ministry mentor of mine told me once that when someone tells her they're ready to become a member of the congregation, she sits down with them and asks if they are ready to make the transition from guest to host of their shared spiritual home. She says, this more than anything else is what I need to know. Are you ready to become a host? When you see a newcomer standing alone after the service, will you now see it as your responsibility to ensure they feel welcome and comfortable? Will you engage them in conversation and connect them with others as you would in your own home? Will you feel that it falls to you to provide nourishment and care for this community? When there's a gathering that involves food, will you bring a dish to share? When you learn that someone from this community is ill or someone is grieving, will you take it upon yourself to write to them, to visit, to give them a call? Will you contribute financially in a way that ensures the present and future well-being of this community? Are you ready to make the transition, in other words, from guest to host of this shared spiritual home? Then she says, if you have come here looking for a grounding and life-giving experience of belonging, if you want to receive support and care and encouragement to grow from this community, show up and take responsibility for this shared home, and you will receive tenfold of what you give in return. In pre-COVID times, one of the many ways our members shared their gifts of time and energy with this community was, as many of you know and probably miss as I do, by providing coffee and tea after the service here in Freeman Hall. And maybe I just always caught these coffee service volunteers at just the right moment, but it always seemed to me that they took immense pride and felt a deep sense of joy from their work of caring for this community.
Good morning. How about a cup of coffee? It's wonderful having you here in my kitchen. I'm Justine, but I really do miss serving coffee and tea at the UU Church in person. Being a UU barista feeds my soul in so many ways. I believe that conversation and sharing food, coffee, tea in that wonderful space has created so much community over the years. I loved coming in early and seeing and hearing the place go from silent to bubbling over with conversations. I loved hearing the choir warm up. I loved meeting all my fellow baristas, so many wonderful people, and all of those who stopped and smiled and chatted as they got their coffee or tea. One time I'll never forget, on April Fool's, some very clever person brought in a big box of Krispy Kreme donuts, put them on the snack table, but when you opened the box, inside was carrots. I don't know who did that, but it was hilarious watching the faces of people come over thinking they were going to get a donut when they found carrots, although I do believe a lot of our members probably prefer the carrots.
During my first year on staff here, just a few months in, I attended a memorial service on a weekday afternoon for one of our members here in this sanctuary. It was the first time since joining you all that I had experienced the death of a member of this community. I wanted to take in our communal rituals, the way we mourn the death of one of our own, how we celebrate their life. I took in the movement of the ushers, how long the music played before the start of the service, when the family entered and where they sat, the songs and prayers and sharing of reflections this community shared in. And I admit that in a congregation of over 600 members, it was, and it still is, a challenge to learn all the names and faces of the people who make up this community. But after the service, those not long after I joined you all, I turned to two people I was grateful to recognize as members of our congregation. And assuming they had known this woman whose life we were celebrating well, assuming they had been dear friends of hers to attend the service, I shared with them how sad I was that I didn't have a chance to get to know her myself. And I was surprised when one of them responded, "I know we didn't know her either, but after hearing her granddaughter speak, I feel like I do, even just a little." Here they had shown up for this woman's memorial service without even knowing her. I showed my surprise as we made our way out of the pews, and they explained to me she was a member of our congregation. We wanted to show our respect. Needless to say, perhaps I was deeply moved by my first experience of mourning the life of one of the members of this congregation. In the course of participating in congregational life, coming together week after week to explore, honor, and celebrate what matters most, we slowly accumulate a kind of lived wisdom together. And if we were to put this wisdom into words, we'd say that part of what we learn while showing up for one another here is that when one of us has cause for joy and gratitude, It's the role of community to deepen and expand that joy by sharing in it. And when one of us is hurting, it's the role of community to lessen their sorrow by sharing in it.
I'm Nancy Green and have been a member of this congregation since 1990. I've served in a variety of volunteer positions during the course of these 30 years, some challenging, some delightful, some pure joy, but all meaningful. About 10 or 12 years ago, I became involved with the Congregational Care Team, which serves our members in need in a variety of ways. I then served as chair for 3 years, and when my term ended, I was asked to continue working the memorial receptions component, which is just one part of the entire team. It was a perfect match for me. While the memorial service offers the formal celebration of life, the reception includes light refreshment in a more casual environment. It provides a place and time for family and friends to gather, to express sympathy, and offer condolences to the grieving family, to share memories, to offer support, to celebrate, to remember, to connect, to hug. If ever I questioned the importance of what this dedicated and loving team offers, 8 years ago it was put to rest when I lost my infant granddaughter. When Jay asked my son and daughter-in-law whether they wanted a small family gathering or if they wanted to open the service up to the congregation, Peter and Jen decided to include the congregation. While it was certainly one of the most difficult times our family ever experienced, Pete and Jen made the right decision. Arms encircled us, and we felt surrounded by the love and support that this community offers so freely. And that experience continues today. As Eve shared with us, and it bears repeating, when one of us is hurting, the role of our community is to provide care and support, to try to lessen the sorrow and aloneness the family is experiencing by embracing it as our own. I feel that the memorial reception team does just that. We are the spirit of our congregation, and its volunteers are a group of dedicated, caring, loving individuals who certainly receive as much, if not more, than we give.
Good morning. I'm Kathleen Maloney Tarr, longtime member of UUCC. The smiling women walk up the driveway laden with bags and baskets. They greet each other warmly as they enter the home, find a chair, and quickly begin to pull out colorful prayer shawls. They arrange the shawls on the center table, comment as others are added to the stack. Who made the blue one? Is that knitted or crocheted? How hard is that pattern? Meanwhile, each woman draws out her current project and begins to knit or crochet a prayer shawl as a monthly gathering of healing threads begins. In cultures across the world, the creation of prayer shawls is a spiritual practice. Shawls comfort, warm, bless, and surround the receiver with an artist's healing love, thoughts, and prayers. In spring of 2012, Joy Bruce and I enjoyed making a shawl for one of our longtime, very dear members, Charlotte Watkins. Joy knitted half a shawl and then gave it to me to knit the other half. No one could tell where she started and I began. We went together to Charlotte's apartment to give her the shawl, and her delight and appreciation touched us. So a few days later, we talked about how it would be to knit together for others who needed comfort or support, and maybe others would join us. Healing Threads is UUCC knitters and crocheters who meet monthly to work contemplatively and intentionally on individual prayer shawls. Our intention is to establish a time of creative activity and spiritual practice as we prayerfully create shawls for hospice houses and designated UUCC members. Our time together includes a simple opening ritual to center ourselves purposefully on healing thoughts and prayers, and a blessing of the new shawls when each shawl is passed from one person to another for a special moment of silent prayer. This spiritual gathering is an opportunity for community building through hands-on shared efforts for those in need of loving support and kindness. It is an opportunity to reach out to others with compassion and honor the interdependent nature of us all. It's a way to deepen spiritual connection with others within and outside our congregation, as well as with each other. Our meetings are a spiritual experience, not just a social gathering. Often periods of silence occur during our meetings. Conversation on topics that enliven our spirits or reflect what's happening in the church community are replaced by clicking needles and the soft sound of yarn pulled up from a skein. We offer our shawls to two groups. The first is UUCC members who experience a significant loss or a challenging physical or medical situation. This includes members who lose a partner or a child of any age, have a terminal or chronic illness, or are elderly at home and could use some comfort. Since a Healing Thread shawl is given from the entire congregation, we make an effort not to indicate which member created it. The 3 Levine-Dixon hospice houses are especially welcoming of our prayer shawls. They make an effort to match the faith tradition of creators and recipients. Often residents don't have a specified religious affiliation, so prayer shawls from our welcoming and liberal congregation fill a very deep need. I treasure the time with other creative people who are generous with their time and resources. Healing Threads gives me a place to belong, a spiritual community focused on creativity and giving, contemplation and prayer. Creating prayer shawls in community to comfort others is more fulfilling than doing it alone. Our joint contributions of generous love and caring make my life matter. Healing Threads heals me, and we have plenty of room for you around the shawl table.
Hold me, rock me, calm and easy. Hold me, rock me, deep and wide. Hold me, rock me in your arms. Oh, I got a home on the other side. Hold me, rock me, calm and easy. Hold me, rock me, deep and wide. Oh, hold me, rock me in your arms. Oh, I got a home on, I got a home on, I got a home on the other side. Someday, gonna cross that river. Someday, gonna set out on my own. Don't know where my journey leads, but I'll keep on walking till I get me home. Yes, hold me, rock me, calm and easy. Hold me, rock me, deep and wide. Hold me, rock me in your arms. Oh, I got a home, I got a home, I got a home on the other side. My life is a running river, flowing from the mountain to a distant sea. I've known many hills and valleys, but when I reach that ocean, I'll be free. Yes, hold me, rock me, calm and easy. Hold me, rock me, deep and wide. Oh, hold me, rock me in your arms. Oh, I got a home on, I got a home on.
Good morning. My name is Judy Love. Eve invited me to speak today about my involvement with the Congregational Care Team. I've been a member of the UUCC for more than 10 years now. For the first 6 of those, I have to say that the Congregational Care Team wasn't really on my radar. Having immediately joined the choir, however, I often sang at memorial services, so I had attended several of their receptions. I was always struck by the beautiful job they had done. The long tables draped in moss-green cloths, topped with platters of lovely offerings, bouquets of flowers, and the gracious host seamlessly, hosting. I had heard of care gift baskets, seen seas of rent poinsettias ready for delivery, and read the healing thread notices in the order of service. But being a fairly self-reliant person, it never occurred to me that I would ever be the recipient of their help. But then things changed. I needed surgery, and Roger got very sick. Cards from the committee arrived wishing us well. A sumptuous dinner and a beautiful basket tied with a red ribbon fed us for several days. During Roger's long stay in rehab, a gift basket arrived filled with thoughtful items from lotions and tissues to fresh fruit, candies, and note cards. Roger received a healing shawl complete with his blessing, intricately knitted in a soft heathered blue that matched his eyes. Wrapping himself up in it was like being hugged by his beloved congregation. And when the time inevitably came, the committee told me that they would host a reception after his memorial service. In the midst of all the emotions, paperwork, and turmoil that came with Roger's death, the prospect of organizing a memorial reception felt overwhelming. To have this offer of help was astonishing. As I watched the team whisk away the last of the platters and wipe the kitchen counters clean, as the folding tables were hauled back to the closet, I vowed that I would pay it forward and join the Congregational Care Team so that I could support others in our community as I had been helped in my difficult times. It's been a year now since I joined the Congregational Care Team. The members work together like a well-oiled machine. Cards go out regularly, meals are cooked and delivered, people make phone calls and arrange visits. Baby blankets are lovingly created. I still feel as if I have a long way to go before I have fulfilled my vow, but I hope that someday I will make someone else feel as cared for as I have been. Thank you all.
I invite you now into a time of meditation, an opportunity to deepen your breath, to relax your shoulders. I invite you into the spirit of meditation today, in the presence of the members and the loved ones of members honored in this memorial garden. And we enter meditation in a spirit of gratitude for what they have handed down to us. There is a love too vast to contain in a single life. The love that shakes the foundations of oppression, that demands that all people live lives of dignity. A love that stretches beyond the here and now with an abiding concern for those who will follow after us. There is a love too vast to contain in a single life. There is a sorrow too vast for one person to hold alone. Sorrow that takes us beyond our individual capacity to make meaning. If we try to hold that kind of sorrow alone, it will hollow us out. There is a sorrow too vast for one person to hold alone. There is a joy too expansive to experience alone. Joy that flows beyond the borders of contentment, the limit of happiness. Joy that requires we reach beyond ourselves in celebration. There is a joy too expansive to experience alone. When you struggle to hold love like this alone, when you suffer under the crushing weight of sorrow like this, when you find yourself holding a sparkling fragment of joy like this, bring it with you to this community. This community can hold what we cannot hold or feel or understand alone. In our coming together, we carry forward the love and sorrow and joy of generations past. And we trust, with the gifts we give here of our time and energy and attention and care, we trust, with the giving of these gifts, that community will go on long after we are gone, to hold other lives to come, lives we will never know. We give and receive in faith that it might be so. Amen. Welcome again to today's service. And if you are visiting, a special welcome to you once again. And I encourage you to find ways to connect with the life of this congregation virtually. You can explore our website and subscribe to our weekly e-newsletter Currents to get a sense of what's going on here. And if you'd like to reach out to get to know us better, to start a conversation or ask any questions you have, you can reach out to our membership coordinator, Kelly Green. Her email is Kelly, Kelly, at UUCCharlotte.org. All of you can read more in this week's issue of Currents about a chance to participate in a collaborative community art project. You can figure out how to join one of our upcoming Common Love conversations, or learn more about attending a series of virtual retreats to help you ease anxiety. I want to highlight that discovery circles and parent discovery circles are now forming for the fall. These are the small groups that meet monthly throughout the congregational year to reflect spiritually and share deeply in a way that's held in the confidence of that small group. These are an opportunity to build trusting and layered relationships with one another and to create the kind of strong mutual support that so many of us are seeking when we join a spiritual community. Watch Currents for opportunities to sign up or email me with questions, Eve, EVE, at UUCCharlotte.org. It's through the giving and receiving of care in this congregational community that we create the resilience and tenacity that allows us to reach out in support of the community beyond this congregation, showing up in the streets, showing up by tuning in virtually at city council meetings to show that we value the lives of our Black neighbors and will stay in the struggle to hold our city leaders accountable for the safety and well-being of those Black neighbors. You can learn more about how to engage with our newest racial justice co-conspiracy with the Reentry Housing Alliance. These are people who can help you connect and further the work to promote equitable access to safe, affordable housing, regardless of criminal history. We'll be gathering virtually for the foreseeable future, but there will continue to be a compelling variety of ways to engage with others within this congregation and in the larger community. This morning, we extend our prayers across the globe to Beirut, Lebanon, to the loved ones of all those who lost their lives and all those who were injured in the horrific warehouse explosion that happened there this week. Here at home, we are sending love to all of you returning to work in our school systems. We know that you continue to learn as you go how to best transition to this new reality and to prepare to welcome back students who will need all of our love and support as they too embark on this disorienting year ahead. You are in our prayers. Here in our congregation, we share in the sorrow of Steve Painter and hold Steve in our prayers as he grieves the death of his wife, Marion Painter. Whatever sorrows, joys, and remembrances each of you is carrying this morning, may you feel held by this community. Today, as we celebrate the giving and receiving of care that community makes possible, I remind you that a number of our members have donated all or a portion of their stimulus checks to the UUCC Cares Fund. If you find yourself struggling under financial burdens caused by this pandemic, reach out to Jay or to me, and we'll figure out how we can help you. For those of you who are able to give generously in these uncertain times, we are so grateful that you are paying your pledges and sending in contributions that you would have otherwise shared in the offering basket each week. Your generosity goes a very long way, and we're thankful. As we end this time spent together, whatever worry or sorrow you are carrying, may you feel held by this community, by the layered and enduring love that has been passed down over generations within the Unitarian Universalist community of Charlotte. Remember, do not carry this sorrow alone. And whatever hope, whatever spark of joy you have within, do what it takes to reach out and share it with others. Take care and be well until we're together again.